Family, it is fairly early here in Los Angeles, and I have client calls in the next 40 minutes, so this cannot be long. I had no intentions of going live today. However, the discourse around the Marc Lamont Hill, Joe Budden podcast clip that has gone viral has been very fascinating for me for several reasons. Yes, Cheech, I just heard that D'Angelo passed away like three seconds ago, and I'm incredibly sad. So rest in peace to D'Angelo. I checked to make sure it was real. That's not what this live is about, though. That's not what this live is about. The reason why I'm going live with the last 38 minutes that I have free today until tonight, because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my busiest day, is because I saw the clip of Marc Lamont Hill that's been going viral for the past like 24 hours, I think. And a friend of mine pointed out that I have a very specific and informed insight into this topic that a lot of people don't have, even other people who are considered Marc Lamont's peers. And so I wanted to come on here to address the question of why is Marc Lamont Hill, such a brilliant man, such a civically engaged activist, on a show like Joe Budden. And everybody's saying Marc needs to leave the show. I even momentarily said last night he needs to be careful if people are being so hostile with him on the show, because you know that means that he might have some saboteurs. However, this video is going to be about why I, Bluecentric, think that we need Marc Lamont Hill on the Joe Budden podcast. I actually, after sleeping on it, disagree with the sentiment that Marc needs to leave. I disagree. And a lot of the reason why I disagree with that he needs to leave is because of the work that I've done with him myself and the work that I've done on Hollywood Unlocked. Let's get into it. For those of you who don't know, hi, my name is Bluecentric. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, a podcast producer, and sometimes on-air talent. And I am someone who has been working in digital media for quite a while. And some of you might know this, but in 2019, I had a podcast with Melissa Ford called I'm Here for the Food. Now, for those who don't know, I'm Here for the Food is one of those shows where Chief says he cannot leave. I would lose all respect for that show and that man. Oh, well, you can't lose respect for free agency, but I get what you're saying. So when I was working on I'm Here for the Food with Melissa Ford, she had told Angie, the owner of the Shade Room, that she was looking for someone who, and guys, I'm not going to be looking at the comments because I only have 30 minutes, so I can't engage with that the way that I usually do. So talk amongst yourselves. But Melissa Ford had told Angie from the Shade Room actually, it was Jason Lee's birthday party. So yeah, Melissa was at Jason Lee's birthday party, met Angie, the founder of the Shade Room, and was telling her how she needed a podcast host who was really smart and pithy, who could keep her and the audience on their toes. Angie immediately thought of me. And so the next day while I'm at IKEA, I get a call from Angie from the Shade Room saying Melissa Ford has a podcast, and I feel like you're exactly who she needs. I interview with Melissa. She loves me up front and immediately hires me on the spot. So we do this podcast, and during the podcast, Melissa has these several moments where she's making it clear that she feels a way that I'm being seen as the smart one. That is a whole other video for another time. The reason why I'm pointing this out is one of the last shows that I ever did with Melissa was in March of 2020. Y'all remember March of 2020? The World Health Organization announced on March 11th, 2020, that we were in the midst of a global pandemic. That same week, Melissa and I, well, a couple of days earlier, I had interviewed Jason Lee for the first time because he had told Melissa, I think your co-host is really smart. Please give her my book. I want to hear her thoughts. And next thing I knew, me and Jason were planning our very first interview together. That same week, Melissa says, hey, I have Marc Lamont Hill coming on the show. I want to do an interview with him, and I'm really excited. And I say, Melissa, I'm going to tell you something right now. This COVID thing, I have a very bad feeling about it. I don't feel comfortable coming into the studio. She gets angry with me. I say, Melissa, I'm not coming into the fucking studio. So now what? I'm immunocompromised. I'm not going to compromise my health. And I have an elderly mother just to do this podcast with you. So we agreed to do the podcast with Marc Lamont Hill the week after the pandemic remotely. I'm remote in LA. I'm in Koreatown. Melissa's remote in Beverly Hills, and Marc is remote, I think, in Philly. We do the podcast, and The episode was interesting because in the episode, she took it down. So that's unfortunate because it was a great episode. In the episode, I'm telling Marc why I disagree with Melissa and I think COVID is a big deal. And Marc is saying, yeah, I have an elderly father. His father has since passed away, rest in peace. And so Marc and I bonded over the fact that we both had elderly parents that made us not able to be callous about how we saw COVID. The conversation was exceptional. Florence is saying she saw the episode. Yes, the conversation was exceptional. And I actually still have the promo video, the promo shot that Melissa sent me to promote the episode. So even though she took the video down, when I replay this on YouTube, I will insert the promo so you can see that this really happened. The episode aired on March 24th, 2020. Yes, y'all know how my memory works, right? So Marc and I do the episode, and my first thought after the episode was over was, oh, he's a pleasure to work with in front of the camera. Now, why did I say in front of the camera? Because Marc and I had worked together behind the camera for years, and he didn't know it. When I worked at the Griot, I worked at the Griot for 8 years. During my time at the Griot, I executive produced a lot of content. In fact, in my lifetime, I've executive produced 6 or 7 podcasts, hosted 4 podcasts, and been a reoccurring guest, because I go viral a lot when I go on other people's podcasts, on several podcasts, from Jesse Wu to Carlos King, everybody that mama knows, even Bridget's podcast, everybody that mother knows. If I go on your podcast, I'm going to say the fucking thing and you might go viral if you already have a platform. So as someone who's EP'd 6 podcasts and hosted 4, I had been executive producing a lot of podcasts for the Griot. I actually am the one who set up their podcast department because it didn't exist before I got there. I'm actually the one who set it up, hired producers, was poaching people from Netflix and all types of places. And so when Marc would come on our shows, he didn't realize that I was his EP. I was just a voice because I work remotely. So I had been producing content with Marc Lamont Hill for years and he had no idea. And so this episode that me and Melissa did with him, I was like, oh my God, he's a pleasure to work with behind the camera. He's also a pleasure to work with on camera. Now, Mel would always say, Blue, I know you think you're smart, but such and such is so smart, don't be intimidated. And I was never intimidated. I very rarely actually, I don't think I've ever been intellectually intimidated, because here's the thing. Being intellectual does not mean that you are someone who needs to know everything. It means you are somebody who has such a rigorous curiosity and you have the equipment and the tools to know how to learn new things as they come. So you don't have to know everything to be an intellectual. You do have to have a rigorous curiosity, though. You can't be committed to thinking you're always right. So she had been bringing on all these guests like Michael Eric Dyson, a couple other people, now Marc Lamont Hill, and what I believe now was an attempt to intellectually intimidate me, and it never happened. Not only did it never happen, every time she'd bring a brilliant man, that's how she would always, oh my God, he's brilliant, don't be intimidated, on the show, rather than being intimidated, I would just bond with them. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because, number one, Marc and I have a lot in common with the way that we see the world, because here's the thing. The smarter you are, the more humorous you are. People don't realize that. A lot of times when you watch shows like Friends, the person who's playing the dummy is usually the scholar of the cast. You have to be really, really smart to be funny. Most comedians, well, let me take it back. Most old school comedians, these new age comedians make cheap jokes that don't require any intellect. Respectfully, shout out if it doesn't apply to you, don't worry about it. But a lot of comedians from back in the day, I'm talking about like Eddie Murphy Raw back in the day, like the 80s, 90s, and maybe even the early 2000s. The level of intellect you had to have to be a successful comedian up until 2010 was an overlap with the gifted program at school, okay? And so I'm used to thinking that if you're brilliant, you have to be funny. I've never met a brilliant person who wasn't fucking funny, whether they knew they were being funny or not, right? So Marc and I had a great time, and I was like, okay, so he is solid behind the camera, and he's solid in front of the camera. This is important, guys, because let me let you understand this. A lot of people are very different when they don't know they're being perceived. I have perceived Marc Lamont Hill for years without him knowing that I was producing all that content he was doing for the Griot. So I saw him when there was no incentive to lie. And then on camera, he was generous. When he and Melissa had their moments, he was frustrated with her for the exact same reasons that I was frustrated with her. I won't say too much on that, but again, it's another video for another time. And he showed her the same level of grace that I showed her, even as she was playing victim. So, why am I saying all this before I explain why Marc is needed on the show? The reason why I believe Marc is needed on the show is the same reason why I believe I was needed on Hollywood Unlocked. After Melissa and Jason fell out, Jason said, hey, that interview I did with you was probably my favorite interview that I've ever done up until this point. Melissa has left the show. It's not messy because you don't work with her and I don't work with her anymore. I think you're exactly the kind of female voice we need on Hollywood Unlocked. Everybody and their mother begged me, probably similar to how you guys are begging Marc Lamont Hill not to be on the show with Jason Lee. Now, in the digital media space, I'm going to school you guys real quick. There's a trifecta, right? And the trifecta is Charlemagne the God, Joe Budden, and Jason Lee. In fact, I think I might have heard some rumblings that Joe Budden, Jason Lee, and Charlemagne at one time actually debated about doing a show together. If that rumor's not true, somebody let me know. But I've heard, yes, I am saving this live, guys. But because I have limited time, I have to talk really fast, so I can't really read the comments the way I usually do. So Joe Budden, Charlemagne, and Jason Lee are a trifecta in digital media when it comes to black men, whether you guys want to admit it or not. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, they are the Destiny's Child of black male digital media in America right now. And what's interesting is I have a direct or indirect connection to all three of them, right? I'm connected to Jason Lee because Jason Lee very much was the one who said, no, we need a woman like Blue on the show as a way to offset what I'm doing and offset what Damage is doing. Same thing that Joe decided to do. I have a connection with Charlemagne because Jason Lee called me and said, Charlemagne saw the show and said he thinks you're a great addition. That felt really great to me because Charlemagne, I feel like he has a good eye for talent. Charlemagne is also the one who has the Black Effect Network where Mandy B was on, and Mandy and I were on See the Thing Is for a while together. I was a reoccurring guest host, according to Mandy's assistant, of their top 10 videos. I was in like half of them. So it was interesting to understand that I was directly associated with Jason, had it indirect associated with through Mandy with Charlemagne, and Charlemagne appreciated my work with Jason. And then when Mandy and Bridget broke up, Joe Budden announced on his show that me and Bridget's Patreon was the first Patreon that he ever paid for because he wanted to see what Bridget had to say. And I wanted to create a safe space for my co-host, and we did. It was an amazing episode, right? So here's this trifecta, right? I'm directly connected to one, indirectly through Mandy and Bridget connected to the other two, and Jason connected to the other two, and all parties involved know of my existence, and so I'm perceiving them, but now I'm realizing, oh shit, they can see me back. When Marc Lamont Hill starts working at the Joe Budden podcast, my first thought was, Joe Budden is pulling a Jason Lee. Let the record show Jason did it first. I know they got beef, but Jason did it first. It's just a time step, not an opinion. It's a time step, not an opinion. Jason Lee of the three was the first to say, well, actually, Charlemagne of the three was Charlemagne, but between Jason and Joe, it was Jason. Jason said, you know what? Angela Yee on The Breakfast Club, it was great having a woman there. And when Angela left, they were intentional by having a woman there. Jason also understood that on his show with Melissa had a lot of fucking value as well. So when he brought me in, it made sense, right? It made so much sense. And a lot of these manosphere shows, they need women a lot of times to offset it. Shout out to Mona. Mona, you are fucking amazing. You need to stay on that show. You and Mark. When Mark came on the show, my first thought, and this is not shade. It's too early in the morning for me to be shady. I'm just being honest. My first thought when Marc Lamont Hill came on the show was, Marc Lamont Hill is making up for the intellect that they thought they were going to get from Melissa. Because Melissa positioned herself as an intellectual woman. So she's a 2-for-1. On my show with Hollywood Unlocked with Jason Lee, I was an intellectual woman. So I was there to be intellectual and have a counterbalance to all the fun, pithy, gossipy shit. But I was also there to speak on behalf of women, right? The same 2-for-1 that I represented for Jason, Melissa did not do well for the Joe Budden podcast. And nobody who listens to the show, unless you were already a stan of hers, would think she did well. She brought the woman part, but she didn't bring the intellect part. She played damsel a lot. She was scared to share. She wasn't bold. She wasn't audacious. Her self-advocacy always leaned towards playing victim rather than being empowered by her womanhood. So when they brought Marc Lamont Hill, the irony was this intelligent black man actually did a better job at holding space for the safety of women than Melissa did. And I immediately felt like this is an excellent course correction. So on Jason's show, so many people hit me up and said, Blue, I used to love watching Jason because I loved his mess. I loved his banter. And Jason is actually very smart. Joe Budden is very smart. Charlemagne the God is very smart. Smart doesn't mean you have to like them. So if you don't like them or they've committed a crime, you don't have to waste your time telling me what those crimes are. I said smart. I said smart. Words mean things. And unlike some people, I don't just read dictionaries to sound smart. I actually understand what the words mean and how to use them properly, right? So when you have a smart but messy head of a ship, you need someone to stabilize them to keep the ship from sinking. And until Marc and Mona came on the show, the Joe Budden podcast did not have that. It didn't have that. And on Hollywood Unlocked, Melissa tried to be that, but then... So, in the same way, Hollywood Unlocked needed me in that time as Jason was transitioning and getting therapy and working on his physical fitness and becoming the softer side of Jason that I now know and love. In the midst of that, they needed a woman like me. I'm going to push back and say Joe Budden needs Marc and Mona now for the same reason. You guys, I can't do a recap because I'm leaving in 20 minutes because I have to do client calls. I have a 12-hour day ahead of me, so this is a gift. I can't give anymore. I love y'all, though. Just watch the replay when I post it on YouTube. So, in the same way that Joe Budden is now he's making $20 million a year, he's evolving, he's working out in the morning. These are all the conversations I used to have with Jason on Hollywood Unlocked. When someone like Charlamagne or Joe or Jason, and I have the unique opportunity of being tied to these people in some way, is in a space where you are evolving and realize just being a troublemaker and being a rebel rouser is not enough because your audience has expanded and there's a sense of responsibility to feed the audience because junk food isn't enough. You actually need people like me and Marc and Mona on your show. I'm not being self-aggrandizing because I already got the job, right? You actually need people like us to make sure that your impact doesn't become irresponsible. Without Marc and Mona, the Joe Budden podcast, as big as it's gotten, will suddenly go from being entertaining to some of y'all to being egregiously irresponsible. Marc and Mona are needed on the show. Also, guys, here's something else. Well, people are saying, well, Marc, you're not safe. And even I thought about Marc's safety. But then I thought about what kept me safe working with Jason. Okay? Because I'm clocking it from the inside. A lot of you guys are giving feedback from outside the club. I've been in the club in VIP, popping bottles, okay? So I'm speaking as somebody who played Marc's position on a show that was just as big. Not too much on Jason Lee because Hollywood Unlocked, we were in 74 markets on iHeartRadio as a radio show. We were on Fox Soul every single week, got amazing fucking numbers, and got a fucking raise and an extension. And we had a podcast on YouTube. Millions of people every single week saw me, Jason, in Damage. It is the same thing as Joe Budden. Respectfully. Jason just doesn't have a Patreon, although I told him a couple weeks ago he needs to get a Patreon. Jason, if you see this, get a fucking Patreon, friend. It's been weeks now. I haven't seen you put it up. Anyways, so as someone who's been in Marc's position, I need you guys to understand, even though I left Hollywood Unlocked in 2022 and it is now the end of 2025, 3 fucking years later, I cannot tell you how many people who needed to hear from me but wouldn't know to look for me found me via Jason. You guys like to rediscover me every 6 months. First, y'all thought y'all discovered me on The Griot. Then y'all discovered me on CNN. Then y'all discovered me on, Melissa Ford's podcast. Then you discovered me on Hollywood Unlocked. Then you discovered me on Carlos King. Then you discovered me on See the Thing Is. Then you rediscovered me on TikTok about 7 or 8 times. Then you discovered me a couple weeks ago on Love Island. Then you discovered me on Jessie Woo. Everybody thinks I've been discovered by 12 different people. The thing about being an intellectual who is focused on impact rather than just fame is people are always discovering you and giving other people credit for discovering you, not knowing you've already been discovered 20 times before. Those of y'all who think that I just became big because of Love Island, oh, honey, you're about 16 years late, but that's okay, right? Marc Lamont Hill is the same way. Marc Lamont Hill has been on so many shows in so many ways. If you ask 100 people how they discovered Marc Lamont Hill, they're going to have 100 different answers. That's not fame. That is impact. As someone who is a slave to impact, not fame, what ends up happening is people keep discovering you and thinking whoever they found you through is who made you, and that's never the case. Joe Budden did not make Marc Lamont Hill, but Marc Lamont Hill is enhancing the audience. And why is Marc Lamont Hill so important right now and why he can't leave right now? Because, and I made a video about this, and in this video, you guys kept tagging 19 Keys. 19 Keys got scared and ran off, so please don't tag him in my videos, guys. Women who sound like me scare him for some reason. In the video, I said the GOP has been for quite a while now been running an anti-intellectual campaign focused on black men. I made a whole fucking video about it. I might attach it to the end of this video when I post it on YouTube so y'all can watch it back. The GOP has been doing an anti-intellectual campaign, particularly focused on black men, since about 2015, 2016. When they recognized that black men's misogyny made them feel like they weren't seen by the girl boss Kamala, Michelle Obama era, they saw you guys as weak. Yes, I'm saying it to your faces. They realized that you were insecure, that the women in your lives were becoming more educated than you. And even though the women in your lives became more educated than you because of the GOP, they thought, oh, we're going to position ourselves as their saviors, even though we're the ones who created the problem that they find themselves in, right? It's white supremacy that put black men in jail and put them behind bars and separated from their families for petty crimes and nonviolent offenses, right? It is white supremacy that made you be in lockup so that you couldn't go to school at the same rates as black women and keep up with us. It's white supremacy that did that to you. So I think it's real fucking weird that now white supremacy is holding you to their bosom saying, please become MAGA because only MAGA understands you. Of course they understand you because they put you in the mess. Of course I can fix a problem I created. Okay? So the GOP has been using black men as a Trojan horse to once again break up the black community by saying, those gays and those smart black bitches don't understand you. Come over here for traditional values where men like you are appreciated. Meanwhile, they're the ones who put y'all in this mess. If you are a black man who is MAGA, all I know is you're insecure. Because only insecurity makes that make sense to you. Only insecurity makes you intellectualize, leaving behind women and gay people in your community who've always had your back because the GOP was to stroke your ego through traditional values. Right? So, I need you guys to understand, in this age where anti-intellectualism is being pummeled towards black men and fucking working, shout out to Red Pill. Shout out to Red Pill, right? In this age where black men are falling for the okie doke but have full bass in their voice like Stephen A. Smith, not realizing that they're just modern day fucking coons. In this day, when during the election, I repeatedly, because I listened to Joe Budden and Charlamagne the God and Jason Lee, right? I'm someone who, I like to listen to the comps. I listen to all three of these men in the trifecta because I recognize if I love black men, I need to figure out what the fuck black men are listening to. I care that fucking much. I told the founder of the Griot back in 2019 that I was worried about black men's mental health because the men around me were cracking. And literally a couple of years later, data came out to substantiate my concerns and said that we were in a black men's mental health crisis. And that black men are the number one group of people unaliving themselves. The number one fastest growing group. You know why? You want to know why black men are unaliving themselves? Because they're not fucking equipped. They have more ego than tools. And that is by design of the same GOP they're now fucking caping for. A lot of y'all are Django Unchained, like fucking Samuel L. Jackson holding Leonardo DiCaprio to your bosom saying, Master don't die, when Master's the reason why you were a slave to begin with. Not too fucking much. So, when I was listening to the Joe Budden podcast during the election, they more times than they realized veered towards MAGA, and then Joe would hear it because Joe's really fucking smart. Shout out to the Virgos. They would hear it and they would pull it back, but they got way too close for comfort. I was like, yo, they are teetering on MAGA rhetoric. And saying, but we don't vote for Trump after saying 35 minutes of MAGA rhetoric, that's not enough, Joe. I'm sorry. It's not enough. It's not enough. Y'all teeter too fucking much. Y'all kept on teetering, right? And you were teetering on the mic, which means you might have fell over off the mic. So during this recent election, I became quite physically concerned with the way Joe and Ish and the other ill-equipped black men, not stupid, just ill-equipped, because I know that Ish is very sensitive about the fact that he thought he was the smartest nigga alive just because he was the smartest nigga on the construction site, and now Marc Lamont Hill has shown him that smart and intellectual are two very different things. Right? When Marc Lamont Hill came on the show, I breathed a sigh of relief. You know why? Everything that I used to scream at the fucking radio while I was listening to the show, because I would listen to it on my JBL while working, everything that I would scream to my JBL, Mark was in studio saying out loud. Melissa wasn't equipped. She wasn't equipped. Melissa is not a stupid woman, right? And she's really great at memorizing words from the dictionary like T.I. But memorizing words and being an intellectual are not the same thing, Melissa. Being the most savvy nigga on your block and knowing how to flip a house is not the same thing as intellect-ish. The funny thing is, the closest to Mark's intellect on the show is actually Joe Budden. And let me bring me back to the point. The reason why I'm no longer worried about Marc Lamont's safety on the show is the same reason why I wasn't worried about my safety on working with Jason Lee. And that's because, number one, Jason Lee valued my contributions and he respected me. When you are valued and respected, that immediately adds a layer of safety. And number two, I'm with the fucking shits. So number one and two are actually a one combo. Jason Lee valuing me is number one, right? He valued and respected me. Number two is I'm with the fucking shits. Stop thinking smart people are stupid. Y'all watched in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s how smart kids used to get put in lockers. Y'all watched too much Saved by the fucking Bell, and now you think every smart person you know is Screech. No, we have hands. We have hands. I do know how to talk shit and fight. And Mark is from Philly. My first fiance, shout out to Troy from Temple. My first fiance was from Philly, okay? My first love was a Philly nigga. Almost married this man until I came to my senses, right? And I can tell you about Philly niggas, even the ones who go to Temple can fight. People were like, Blue, why have you been telling people that you know how to fight so much this year? Because some of y'all act like you don't think I don't know how to fight. And when it comes to street niggas who are anti-intellectual, you gotta meet them where they are. Let's go outside. I'll never forget the day that somebody tried me. Somebody tried me in front of Jason Lee. And Jason Lee saw me square the fuck up in a room full of men. And he said, oh, bitch, yeah, okay. I could see his... I'm not going to share too much. So, in my mind, because I had a boss who was not dumb, knows how to play dumb because it's good content over everything, knows how to play villain because Floyd Mayweather taught Jason that villains make more money, and y'all are stupid because they really do. Y'all pay villains more money than the good guys, unfortunately, right? I've seen it with my own eyes. So, when you have a boss who's smart and savvy, who respects and values your contribution, and if they ever are caught slipping, you're with the fucking shits. And with the shits, the emotional intelligence word for being with the shits is, I know how to self-advocate. That's what being with the shits means when you go to... Harvard taught me to stop saying I'm with the shits and start saying I know how to self-advocate. So as somebody who knows how to self-advocate, Mark is safe. The same way I was never unsafe with Jason Lee, because I wish a motherfucker would fucking try it with me. And they didn't. They didn't. I actually loved my time at Hollywood Unlocked. To this day, I still love the team at Hollywood Unlocked. Whenever I go to the awards, it's nothing but love. I really believe that Joe Budden and Ian, in the same way that Jason and his team, I don't want to name too many people, Rob and Jason took care of me the way Ian and Joe Budden, I believe, are taking care of Mark. So guys, this has to be quick again because I have to go. Marc Lamont Hill is safe. And he is needed. There are black men and black boys who are listening to Joe Budden, who do not know how wrong their thinking has been, who do not know how hard and how long they've been groomed, who do not realize the misogyny and victim speak that has seeped into their language. And by the way, if you're a black man who says nobody cares about us, you are a Karen. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. If you're a black man who didn't want to vote for Kamala because you think nobody cares about you, you are a Karen. Let me explain. A Karen is a white woman who is second place to white men because she's white but not a man. And so even though she's second place and far above everybody else on the food chain, her not being first place is all that she can see. And she doesn't realize that when she's talking to black women, no matter how much money that black woman makes, socially speaking, caste system speaking, white supremacy speaking, she is still above them on the food chain. A poor white woman is above a rich black woman on the food chain because she is second only to white men. And so when she plays victim to a black woman, she's being a Karen because she didn't read the fucking room. Who else am I describing, guys? Who else is second place to white men because they only have half of the equation? Who else feels insecure about black women making strides even though no amount of strides we make makes us above them on the food chain? Black men, I love you, and also stop being fucking Karens. I love you and stop being fucking Karens. I don't care that Kamala gets on your nerves. Kamala, walking down an alley, is more likely to get raped than you are. Kamala could have 18 more degrees than you, and you're more likely to get the job than she is. Stop fucking playing victim. They have groomed black men into being Karens. and I'm fucking tired of it. And this is why you guys are trying to unalive yourselves, because you're not equipped to receive the truth, which means you're not equipped to grow. I'm not going to pander to you. I'm not going to pussyfoot with you. I'm not going to let you play victim. Oh, but no. No. The victimhood that you think I need to allow you to play with my face with, to make you feel seen, is the same way you got here. So no. I'm not going to give you more poison and call it medicine. No. People are saying Stephen A. Smith, absolutely. Stephen A. Smith is a prime example of what happens when we allow black men to play victim and don't keep fucking remind them, nigga, you are in second place and I am still in last. Not too fucking much. You are in second place and I am still in last. And your inability to be objective is why we need motherfuckers like Marc Lamont Hill on the Joe Budden podcast. Right? Because the weakness in you, the victim in you that won't pan the fuck out to see that you're still in second place is how we got here. And the only people on the show right now who are willing to tell y'all that to y'all faces is Mark and Mona. Two Philly niggas. Different archetypes. One intellectual, one extra hood. Both have hands. So, as an intellectual who knows how to fight and is with the shits, what do I always say, guys? I choose peace, but I'm built for war. Nah, I disagree with y'all. I fucking disagree with y'all. We need Marc Lamont Hill on the Joe Budden podcast. Shit, if anything, this made me want to call Jason back and ask him if I can come back on Hollywood Unlocked once a week and say something. The same way y'all need to be on Hollywood Unlocked, you need Marc Lamont Hill on the Joe Budden podcast. Because again, every black man who has never been stretched, who's never been challenged on the misogynoir, who's never been challenged on how they play victim because they've been groomed to play victim, who's never been, because here's the thing, when you play victim, the reason why I hate people playing victim isn't because I lack grace or compassion. It's because victims are disempowered. Me telling black men to stop fucking playing victims because I want you to take your power back. You can't take your power back while you're still being a fucking Karen. Lovingly. Okay? Lovingly. This is what actual love looks like. So guys, I gotta go. I have my next client call in 7 minutes. I think Mark and I follow each other on Twitter. So Mark, if you see this, just know that I appreciate you. I very specifically understand the climate that you are in. I very specifically understand the position that you are in. I very specifically understand a lot of your coworkers, those who are there and those who are no longer there. And I'm going to keep it cute and just say, I get it. I get why you're still there. And last but not least, before we go, a lot of you motherfuckers, since we're keeping it a stack because it's early in the morning, I haven't had my coffee yet. A lot of you motherfuckers will let people like us do all this free intellectual labor and then get mad when we have the audacity to want to get a fucking check. In addition to the impact of Marc Lamont being on the show, his money is up. Stop thinking that activists have to be broke to be effective. In fact, broken activists is a trauma response. Black people are so used to thinking, well, if you want to save the people, you have to be like Harriet Tubman and grab a gun and help us get to safety and just hope for the best. No, I would like to pay my bills in this economy. I would like to pay my mortgage. I would like to take care of my elderly family. I would like to go on vacation. Why do y'all get so mad when an activist or when an intellectual finds a way to actually have a bigger audience and get a paycheck without selling their soul? I'm an activist. I'm an intellectual. I also make 6 figures because I have to. I have too many people depending on me not to make 6 figures. And I live in LA, so my 6 figures is not really 6 figures, if I'm really honest, right? So yes, for intellectual reasons, for impact reasons, for social responsibility reasons, for the reasons of black men need somebody to tell them what the fuck the truth is and stop being pandered to by the same people who put them in the mess that they're in. And for the fact that Mark deserves to get compensated for his labor. I believe that Marc Lamont Hill needs to stay on the show, and that is the end of my TED Talk. Thank you guys for coming. My client is about to get on the phone with me in 5 minutes, so I have to run. Somebody said, hey, Blue, before you leave, could you please name the book and author for the book club meeting? Oh, yes, for those of you who heard my announcement on YouTube, because YouTube is where I am most of the time these days, the Bluecentric YouTube page, starting 11/11/2025, next month, we'll be doing the first ever Bluecentric book club meeting. You have to join the Academy. It's our membership tier on YouTube. And when you join the Academy, we're doing the book club. And the first book is, oh shit. I forgot the name of the book. My brain just X'd out. It's the 3rd book by Kennedy Ryan, because all the books have names of this could, it's not This Could Be Us. It's Can't Get Enough. because I already read this, could be us. It's Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. It's the third book in her trilogy. You don't have to read the first two. And the protagonist in this book, my sister Mel and I were listening to it together. Mel was like, this is you. Kennedy Ryan was looking into my window, and Loki wrote a book about me, and I feel a way about that in a good way. So that's the first book for the book club meeting, 11/11. If you want to join us, go to the Bluecentric YouTube page and join the membership tier called the Academy, and we could talk about it. My phone keeps on tilting sideways, so if you're watching this on YouTube and the video is sideways, I apologize, child. All right, I really have to go now because I have a call in 4 minutes. Love y'all.